Yeah.
Greg, I know that's something you mentioned in the discussion about you kind of felt the climate impacts personally, which is one of the things that's really kind of got you going. Do you just want to talk about that? The compounding cost of inaction.
Yes. Last January, a year ago, the climate emergency got very real for me when my home burned down in the wildfires that spread across Los Angeles, and about 100,000 Angelinos were displaced from their homes, both in a giant fire up here against the foothills in Altadena, and then across town in the Palisades as well. I don't think it's easy for people to understand how traumatic that experience is, driven by the climate emergency, 100-mile-an-hour winds, and then floods that took the wash on our property and flooded it into our driveway. It's really a feeling of being untethered from the reality that we used to know. When at those first days after the fire, I would come back from work, and I had to look at the freeways because my tendency was to go home this way, but my home wasn't at home anymore. I had to go to this little ADU where we had to relocate, where I didn't know the neighbors and I didn't know where the drugstore was or the post office, and it just is this. What just happened here? My whole reality has changed. Not so close to home, when I went to the Amazon and was there with indigenous folks and tribes in tiny villages that were so remote that there was no roads into them. You had to take a puddle jumper airplane or a canoe. Wow, what a mindset shift to realize that people still walk in the jungles barefoot and bareback, and they're happy. And what right do we have to take that lifestyle away from them? But in fact, corporations like Chevron and others have gone in there, extracted oil, polluted these nature settings, and it's just so short-sighted to be willing to do that. I think when the climate emergency hits you literally in your home, everything changes, right? We cannot continue to hurt people like this. We have to awaken our neighbors to the fact that if the climate emergency hasn't hit your specific home yet, it will soon. The climate emergency is getting worse at a compounding rate. It's hard for us to imagine that because we've been taught to think linearly, but the pace of change, including the climate emergency, is worsening at an exponential rate. So it's kind of like this tsunami of transformation is coming. And if we can see that coming, then at least we should buy a surfboard and take some surf lessons so we can ride this wave to somewhere that's going to be safe and prosperous for us, right? We need to survive and thrive if we do that. If we don't, we'll be tossed and tumbled by the climate emergency while we were thinking that everything was hunky-dory. No, the world has changed, and it's continuing to change and transforming at a faster and faster rate. I like this phrase that as fast as the pace of change is now, it'll never be this slow again. We really need to wake up and position ourselves for success in the future.
Thanks, Greg. Thanks for sharing your story. Maybe we'll just go from that, like very powerful words you said there, Greg, to, based on that, what is your pitch to investors of all types of investing in climate solutions? Like what's your kind of call to them to say, get on board?
I think if you're an investor, I would point to what Mike Bloomberg did and Mark Carney. If you've seen Carney speak here, this guy really cares about people. He cares about social order. He cares about being just and justice. And he and Bloomberg created this and got the smartest people in the world to set aside $130 trillion. I say, hey, if you think you know more of those guys, then keep doing what you're doing, investing in fossil fuel companies. However, you might want to learn from them and shift your focus a little bit. I think the other point is that thousands of scientists working with the United Nations and their IPCC reports have said, clearly this science is saying that extreme weather is worsening. Even if you don't believe that, or it hasn't hit home for you yet, there's still, you can see the projections from McKinsey and other companies. The world is waking up and looking for environmental solutions more and more. If you want to continue making money, this is the time to position your company to have those solutions to sell or to invest in those companies that clearly will be the profit centers in the future. And then I would bring it home to them personally. Um, what good are profits if your kids and maybe your elderly parents or just you aren't going to be able to live the lifestyle that you're used to living? I think the bottom line, people make decisions based on emotions. I think we need to touch their hearts is the bottom line. That's why I'm happy to tell my story. And, it's a traumatic experience. I think that people can see you when you get choked up about things. And it makes a difference. We need to touch people in their hearts.